I'm here at the Shubert Theater in Boston with Joe Holweger, bass player for Adamant, this tour around in 2019.
Yeah.
So thank you for meeting with me, Joe. Tell me a little bit about how you originally got connected with Adamant.
This would have been about 8 years ago, I think. This was when Adam was starting himself out again, starting to do a lot of gigs. The bass player, who I kind of knew, but it was more from the guitar player at the time, my friend Tom Edwards, who I'd done a lot of gigs in London with. So the bass player wanted to leave, he went on to do a different gig, and the position was sort of available. And Tom just called me and said, look, do you want to come and try out for this? So I did, and I think, within a week, I was suddenly having to learn like 30 songs, and we did one rehearsal with Adam, and the next day we were playing at a theatre in front of 2,000 people. So it was a baptism of fire, really. You know, it's a lot of songs to learn in one go, but it's probably 8 years ago now, and I've just been doing it since then. We've done a lot of stuff, been to America a lot, we've been to Australia, I've done a lot of UK tours. It's been pretty steady, really. In the last sort of 3 years or so, we've started doing these album things. Well, actually, no, longer than that. We did Dirt Wears White Socks, we did that record. Then we toured Kings of the Wild Frontier, and now you're on the Friend or Foe thing. So it's good when you do an album. Obviously, you have to do the whole thing in order. The album tracks, things that people haven't really heard before. On that record, probably 70% of it he's never done live.
What's it like to play an album in its entirety? It must be interesting, if nothing else, because like you said, you're playing some of those tracks that may have never been played live before. Yeah,
it's cool, you know, particularly with this one, we've had to work quite hard on the brass stuff because obviously we don't have a horn section on it. That was Adam's choice, didn't really want to do it. We thought we'd make it a bit harder, do it with guitars. So Adam Leach, who is the guitar player on my right, is a really good friend of mine. He's weirdly from Boston. This is his hometown gig. He lives in Camden in London now, but he's from here. So he's been working out how to, you know, get all this brass stuff across with the guitar. And Will, you know, they've done it between them. But I think it's cool, you know, it's something a little bit different. Using certain pedals, you can get it to sound pretty cool. I mean, you'll hear it tonight.
Yeah. How is it playing these songs on bass? And are you doing anything special or out of the ordinary that you would normally do? Or?
Yeah, man, I am. I'm going to give away all my secrets here. On my board, so I've got my pedal board. On the left, I've got a reverb pedal, which people don't use a lot on the bass. But it's got a shimmer setting on it, so I can play it very delicately, and it will sound like a keyboard, basically. It's a Boss reverb, but it's pretty tasty. And I occasionally put plates, like a big plate on it, for big notes at the end to get a big booming thing. The chorus is a Digitech chorus, actually, which I've had for a long time. That's pretty essential with its 80s stuff, you know, Kings of the Wild Frontier, that's got the heavy chorus.
I've always been a fan of 80s heavy chorus and bass. I grew up with it, so I've been listening to Adamant since I was probably 10 years old. So
yeah, the chorus was the first pedal I introduced. I mean, when I started doing this gig, I only really had that, and now I've got that. I've got the reverb. I've got a big muff which I use a lot, the green one, the bass one, which is awesome because it doesn't suck out the bass. It's more for sustain, really. I use that for, you know, when I want the notes to hang on a bit. And then the sort of wild card is the Electro-Harmonix bass balls, which people are a bit scared of. You know, it's an envelope filter, but there's a couple of moments, I won't ruin it for you, but there's a couple of moments when I kick that in. You know, so it's a weird sound. You know, there is a call for it on this record. So yeah, that's it really. And a tuner, which everyone needs. Because on one of these songs, we did the last song on the record, I'm in drop D, and I don't have a flick switch on the P bass, so I just tune it down.
Oh yeah,
yeah, quickly,
real quick tune.
Luckily, the song before I'm sort of singing and not playing. It's just a vocal bit at the end, so I knock the tuner on there and try and quickly get it down.
You can't forget that move. That brings me to my next question. What are you using for basses?
Not really a big gearhead with basses. I just think you get one and it works, then you just, you know. I use a Fender P bass, and I got it a few years before I started doing this gig, and it's 73. It sounds sick. It just sounds amazing. There's no way, you know, I don't need anything else. I just don't.
How about pickups on that? Are they original or do you modify?
No, they're original, all original. Steve, my guitar tech, Steve Snyman, he's a great guy, and he's shielded everything in there. He just pulled it open and just sorted all the wiring out so it's solid, you know. Because they're old guitars, and that that's obviously like 46 years old, that guitar. You know, with sweating on it every night, smashing it around, it's going to suffer a bit. And also the other thing he did, it's not the original neck on there. It was originally a rosewood neck. So I bought a maple neck, which is a little bit thinner, and I like the sound of the maple as well. Also, when you sweat into maple, it doesn't drink it in like the rosewood. I find on the rosewood neck, they get kind of moist and that will kill your strings. And then with that neck, Steve, again, the guitar tech, one day, I just said, look, it's a little bit big, this now, I want it smaller. So he literally got a lathe to it, and this will offend a lot of your listeners here. He just shaved it down. So he was like, "You sure about this?" I said, "Yeah, just take like 2 mil off the back of it." So he shaved it down, sanded it off, and if you look at that bass, I'll show you if you want. It's all, you can see it's been cut. But I think, you know, again, I'm never going to sell that guitar. I play it to death, and if you have an instrument, you just got to make it work for you. You know, there's no point in suffering with, we need to keep it original. No, you don't.
Right.
You just make it work. Yeah, I'll never sell that thing. I'm dead. My daughter will have it. The other thing is strings, which I just kill them like no one else. Like they laugh about it here in the band, because it's like my strings will last through 2 gigs, maybe 3. They're elites. I use standard elites. That's what I've got on there. I mean, technique-wise, I developed this sort of thing where I have the palm of my hand on the bridge, so I can really hit them hard. If you're playing pick and you're sort of, you know, on the neck, around the neck pick at that sort of area, and you get the right sort of tone, so I sort of hold it here. I mean, you'll see it later. You'll see me doing it later. A lot of these songs are punky and heavy, and if you want to really whack it, you've got to, and I get a nice tone with that as well. I get sort of even tone. So I'm more or less, if I'm doing a punk thing with him, I'm on the back.
It's a nice position to be in.
Especially when you're like throwing yourself off a drum riser or spinning around, you know, it's good to have it anchored there.
Right, exactly. Yeah. How about amps?
The amps is a SVT Ampeg in 8x12 that. At home I've got a GK. There's 2 12s in it, those very light speakers. That's the cab, and then the head is a Mark bass head. But again, if you're carrying your own gear around, you want something that's light. But it sounds amazing, that Ampeg, yeah. It sounds great. I mean, a P bass into an Ampeg, you can't really go wrong with that.
So you're partway through this tour now. Is this halfway through this section, roughly?
It's nearly halfway, yeah. I think we go to New York after this. I think it's 18 gigs we're doing. Yeah, I don't know. You lose track of it. Forget where I am. I'm in Boston right now.
Yeah. You would never know. From this particular room that we're in, you would never know where you are.
Room with no window. We've got beer. We've got to have a bit of rock and roll, Eric. You know what I mean?
You mentioned to me you play multiple different instruments. What is it about playing bass that you find as an enjoyment, in particular, on a tour like this?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, these songs are really good fun to do on bass. It's all kind of, like I say, a lot of the early stuff's quite punky and heavy. And on this record, we've got some interesting sounds going on. Yeah, it's just all very varied. I mean, and I sing a lot on this gig as well. But it's good, you know. I'm a exhibitionist. I'm a guitar player in a band. You know, I want to be at the front. I want to be throwing myself around. And Adam's is a cool guy. You know, he's great to work for. Very professional. And couldn't wish for a better gig, really.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that a little bit. How much freedom does he give you as far as, you know, preparing for these songs, your own interpretation? How close are you trying to mimic the album?
Yeah, very closely. I mean, we will typically go and rehearse a couple of days without him, just to get ourselves in the swing of it. But especially with this sort of thing where you're doing the whole record, it's quite intense. And we will get it pretty much 90% there, and then he'll come in and then we'll sort some of the vocals out when he gets there. The only thing we changed really was a couple of little drum things, because we have these downstage floor toms, which you've probably seen. So that wherever we can do that, I mean, I think visually it looks really cool to have, you know, if someone's not playing, just get on the floor toms, bit of rim stuff. Friend or Foe, we do it in. A Place in the Country, we do it in. Made of Money. Yeah, it's about four or five on Friend or Foe we used the drum. So that's the only thing where we strayed up the record. I thought, you know, again, with my drumming background, very good friends with Andy, one of the drummers, known him for years and years and years. We've done bands together, we've done our own projects. So we're always looking at ways of how can we make this percussive thing, you know, sound and look cool, because it's a big part of his sound. 2 drummers, let's get 2 more drummers, let's go for it, you know. But when we're going at that, when we're on Kings of the Wild Frontier, or we're all slamming those floor toms, it sounds, you know, it's just massive.
Who are some of your musical influences?
Yeah, bass-wise, Geezer Butler, Black Sabbath, John Paul Jones, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't really sort of listen to stuff and try and work it out, like bass-wise. For me, it's more about the song really and playing to the song. And people that are very musical with it, like John Paul Jones, a lot of his parts they're not technically hard, but they sound, they make the song. I have a lot of influences, from drummers and from bass players, guitarists. Yeah, and that makes you play who you are, I guess.
Tell me about some of the other bands and projects you've been involved with.
I used to play with Belinda Carlisle.
Yeah.
I did a lot of stuff with her before I did this, but this is more of a band. This is more like we're a gang, and we dress up a bit, and it's theatre, and that's what Adamant's about really. It's visual, and it's what it sounds like obviously is very important, but for him the whole theatre of it is important, so for that reason it's cool. I really enjoy doing it. I've played lots of pop stuff. I do a lot of writing, all kinds, really. I did a band with Andy from this Adamant's band. He's the drummer. And Tom, one of my really, really good friends who very, very sadly died 2 years ago, a bit more than 2 years now. It's kind of difficult being here, actually, because Boston is the last place we were. That's his last gig. Thankfully not at this theatre, but we were at the Wilbur Theatre, and he's one of my best friends, and it's been very, really hard to get over that. So me and Tom and Andy were in a band called Spider Bites, and we did an album, and then we were halfway through a second one when Tom died, and then me and Andy sort of finished it off. I mean, most of the guitars were there, but we had to get that finished, just because we wanted to put it out there really as a tribute to him. So that was very sad. I mean, it was great fun.
Was this the music that I had read? You did a lot of rediscovering the 80s?
Yeah, kind
80s
of.
rock a little bit.
Yeah, that was the birth of Spider Bite. So we do Van Halen tunes, we do Def Leppard, White Snake in the sound check, because Tom loved that. He was he was way into the 80s stuff, and that was a sort of joint passion we had. And then we thought, why don't we just write some songs like this? And he'd done a demo with Andy, some guitar thing, but he sent it to me, and then one day I just wrote some stupid words. It was all kind of tongue in cheek, and I just put a vocal on it at home in the studio, and I sent it back to him. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. That's the best thing I've ever heard. And so we had that song, and then we just wrote a load more, and very quickly we had an album of it. So the first album is called The Bite Album. The second one was called When the Lights Go Down. Yeah, it's just great fun, really good fun. Yeah, that was existing while Tom was like, but me and Andy thought about trying to carry on doing stuff. Adam Leach came in, we did a tribute gig for Tom. He played guitar, Adam played guitar. We did like 4 songs. But I don't know, it's very difficult to sort of, not to replicate the music, because we did. It sounded cool, but just, my best friend's not standing next to me.
Right.
Just wasn't the same. And for that reason, we just thought, you know what, let's just leave this. It's a shame, because I think it's really good to have a project where you're writing songs that are a bit silly and tongue-in-cheek. It's good, it balances you out,
I see where you're coming from on that one.
Yeah, it's cathartic, that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. What are your plans for after the tour?
I've got quite a lot of gigs actually in London. I'm missing my daughter terribly, who's 11 years old. She just started school the day after I came here, so it's a shame to have missed on that, but she's cool. Yeah, so I'll be spending a lot of time with her really. And then we're back out in November, mid-November in the UK. Yeah, the same tour. It's about 5 weeks, but it's easier when you're in your country. So it's good. It's a busy end to the year, which is cool. I've spent my whole life wanting to get to this point. I'm a musician doing big gigs and going around the world. It's like, there's nothing to complain about. Yeah, I get tired a little bit here and there, but we're strong and we play well always. No one makes mistakes in this band. It won't go wrong, I'm telling you. That's a guarantee.
I'm going to hold you to it, but I believe it. I don't doubt it at all.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it. When you trust your whole band, it's got to make it so much fun.
Yeah. And we know each other really well, it helps. It always helps, that kind of thing. We hang out together. I know what Andy's going to do on the drive. I can tell the way that he plays, and I know what to do with it. And likewise, it's all interconnected, a lot of it. We all know each other so well that's why we play well together, I think.
Thank you very much for meeting with me. It's really been great talking with you. So you're going to get ready for the show. I appreciate it again. Have fun tonight, and I can't wait to see the show.
All right, dude. Nice one. Awesome.